Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everybody. Welcome to August What's Working Now. I am Lindsay Martyr, Digital Marketers Managing Editor, and the date is August 17th, 2017. I hope that's right. Sometimes I say, and I wonder if the date is actually correct. So I hope everybody's having a good day. We're going to be talking about some exciting content stuff today. Joining us will be Digital Marketers copy editor Matt Douglas. I just saw him come in. Not sure if his audio is working. He had to jump off and recheck it. Matt, how's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. Okay.
Yay.
Yay. So today we're going to be talking about the content pipeline, which is something Matt and I handle. So I'm going to walk you through this. In the past 2 months, Russ and I hosted a couple office hours regarding blogging, and we talked about how to jumpstart your blog, how DM sources and works with contributors, because a lot of questions we've seen from you guys surround how do I work with contributors? How do I find people to write for my blog? But the consistent question, even after those presentations ended, were how does Digital Marketer do it? How do we produce content? We publish twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we publish rain or shine. Russ likes to call our blog, as well as office hours, the Waffle House. It does not close. Come hell or high water, we will put content out. I think there's only a few times a year that we don't, maybe a holiday or something else was going on. But yeah, so how do you run an authority blog? How do you consistently publish content that people want to read? And how do you not just do it on your own? So today I want to talk with you guys about our content pipeline. And as far as maintenance goes, any maintenance notifications, Matt will be in the questions box helping me out, answering your questions as well as he can. The tradition in What's Working Now is to hold questions until the end of the call, but I know Matt will interrupt me if people aren't following along or there's something really pressing that you guys need to know. And then once I'm done, I'll be able to jump in the questions box with Matt and answer some questions. This call is being recorded and will be available in Digital Marketer Lab under the What's Working Now section. As usual, you guys will get all resources in there and a PDF download of the slides. So Matt, unless there's anything else I'm forgetting, I think we're good to go, aren't we?
I think we're ready to rock and roll.
That's the only time Matt gets to say that. You get one. Okay. Let's talk the content pipeline. What we're talking about today is how to eliminate blog stress, which I'm pretty sure I coined at Digital Marketer because I talked about it a lot to people who didn't even want to hear about it. But I like to hear myself talk about it. And we'll be improving blog post quality in 16 steps or less. And that's quite the promise, isn't it? Okay, so additional resources. While this is how Digital Marketer runs our content pipeline, there's going to be a few supplemental pieces of content that you guys need when you're building your own and really when you're running any kind of authority blog site. Matt has the full list of those, and he'll be posting them in the chat box. They'll also be included in the recording of this call, so you'll just be able to click under the video to the ones you want to go to. It includes a few execution plans and office hours, a lead magnet that you guys have access to all the time in our DM toolbox in your brand spanking new Digital Marketer Lab dashboard, and a few blog posts that we've created for you guys. So the important thing that I really want everyone to know, and why this pipeline is so wonderful, and why it's really made things easier for the digital marketer team and can make things easier for you guys, is that you don't need a team to put this into action. This really can be done if you desperately wanted it to with a one-man band. If you're a solopreneur and you don't have a content team, you can absolutely follow these steps to do this every single time. You will just act in a few different roles, but it's okay because as long as you know what you're supposed to be doing when a different hat is on, you can absolutely produce content this way. And if you're a content team, you can put this to work in your own content team. Really, it's just a DM, me, Matt, and Russ doing editorial stuff. And most of the time it's me and Matt getting content out the door. So you'll see that there are a few spots where Russ is involved. He and I put our heads together and work on some things, but otherwise Matt handles a lot of this process and I'm handling some in the beginning. So you guys really can see here that if you're one person, you can do this. And the other thing that's great about this is the content pipeline is 5 stages and 16 steps. But the beauty of this and the reason why you really want to have one of these processes for yourself in your blog is that it really informs the idea of knowing if and when your content's going to dry up. I know that there's an age-old question of, what am I going to publish? When you're running a blog that you're consistently publishing content on, you're on the hamster wheel of content. You're always trying to get something out the door. You're wondering, what am I going to write? Or who's going to write something for me, or what this post is going to be about. How long does this need to be? What am I missing in my strategy? So really this pipeline, these 5 stages and 16 steps, it informs how many ideas do we have? How many pieces of content do we have in first draft? How many do we have in revision? How many do we have ready to go out the door? So we're going to talk about that. And stage 1, let's get right into it, is where we're going to be thinking about ideation and acquisition. So step 1 of this entire process is ideation. We have a standing ideation meeting that Russ and I host. And really, this is my meeting. Russ is there to inform, but I prepare the agenda for this, and then he and I have a conversation. Because at the end of the day, as managing editor, I know our editorial calendar. It's my job to manage our editorial calendar, as well as knowing what's going on the promotional calendar and other areas inside the company where content might clash with promotion, or where content can support a promotion, or where there's really an opening on the promotion side and they want to know what content we have running, and that maybe they can find something that coincides with it or supports it in some way. So my job is to come to this meeting figuring out where there are gaps in our content strategy. What have we not done in a while? So have we posted email marketing content in the last 3 months? Have we posted way too much content based on Facebook ads? Do we need to change this up? Do I need to hit up one of my contributors and get them writing on a piece of content? So the idea here, and we'll talk about it a little bit, is what are you going to be publishing for the next imminent time, and what can you get into work so that you're always working in the future? So the how here is you want to generate ideas, choose your post type, segment, you want to choose your category, choose vehicle, write a working headline, and identify possible contributors, and then choose the offer that's going to be the CTA. I know one of the things that Russ likes to tell people when they're struggling to kind of figure out what they write about, work backwards, choose your offer, and then create a piece of content around it that's going to support it. You don't have to steal content from inside the offer, but you can create content that makes it so this offer is the next logical step for them to take once they're done reading your blog post. So you work backwards. Once you have a working headline, you kind of know the promise of your post, and it becomes a lot easier to write. So here is where you guys want to take action. I know that you can't absolutely do it right now. I definitely want you to be listening to what I'm talking about. But when you go through this again later, this is a great place to take action and pause and really get yourself organized, because your content's going to flow so much better if you know what you're trying to do. So list out all your offers. This includes your lead magnets, your tripwires, your core offers. Because a lot of times what we're training people is that the next logical step from a piece of blog content when they're becoming aware of you will be a lead magnet, something that's only going to require them to give you their email address. Or you can do a small offer that's a tripwire, that it still makes sense and it's a low enough dollar offer that they're maybe going to take it. And sometimes you really can use your core offers, but you have to know what the purpose is of it. There are pieces of content on the Digital Marketer blog where we just frankly don't have a lead magnet surrounding conversion optimization. We don't have something there, or we don't have something, a lively lead magnet in regards to email marketing. So I'll go ahead and put our certifications on there, or I'll put something in Tripwire. I'll put an execution plan on there. We have to know there that yes, some people are going to actually take the offer and they're going to convert, but the other purpose of that, especially when it's a high dollar offer like our certifications that a la carte run from $500 to $1,000, it's awareness. So instead of looking at how many people took the offer, we're looking at how many people clicked the offer. How many people were compelled enough by the content to click the offer and read about the certification. And then you can retarget those people and bring them in, but you're putting them into your customer value journey. You're getting them excited about your stuff, and you're making something relevant. It's much better to offer something relevant that they're most likely not going to buy outright than to make a completely irrelevant offer that kind of turns them off to your brand and says, how does that make sense in what's anyway? So you want to list out your offers, then you want to list out your talent. These are the people that are your contributors. Or if you're a one-man band, it's just you right now, you can go ahead and list yourself. You want to list your topics. What are the things that you write about for your blog? So for us, our topics generally go around the 8 disciplines of digital marketing. So we have content marketing, traffic and paid customer acquisition, data and analytics, email marketing. These are the topics that we want our stuff to be centered around. And then you want your categories. So for us, we know that for our categories, all of our content is going to teach you how to either drive more traffic, boost conversions, or increase engagement. So those are the categories that we're currently using, and we're going to switch to a more topic-centric category soon, but you want to know what you're doing. So I like the example that Russ usually uses when he talks about our DIY blog that one of our sister companies owns. It's for crafty people and do-it-yourselfers, which I am totally not. But the categories there fall in the lines of, sewing and painting and gluing and building things. So it's a matter of segmenting your content. Then you want to look at where are the gaps in your content. What have you ran a lot lately? What offer have you not put on your blog lately? Where can you help promote yourself? Where can you give yourself a leg up by creating a really good piece of content that supports an offer that you want to get in front of people more? And then the most important thing is consistency. I think it was 2 weeks ago, Ezra Firestone had a conference in Austin, Texas here. That was his e-commerce all-star event, and it was wonderful. But one of the coolest things that I heard him say to his audience is that everyone's looking for a quick fix when you're in this business, but you really can't get it. He does, I think it's jiu-jitsu. It's some sort of wrestling that involves a mat and him rolling around. And I think he's really highly qualified in it. But he explained to his audience that even though he had an event going for those 3 days that started at 8 a.m. every day, he woke up at 5 a.m., went and found a studio here in Austin, and he practiced. He kept going. It didn't matter that he was in a different state. Didn't matter that he had an event. He wants to continue being good at something, so he's going to continue practicing it. So consistency is how you get better at something, and that means planning ahead. So right now, decide when you're going to have an ideation meeting. Even if you're a team of 1, dedicate a certain amount of time to when you're going to pay attention to the ideas that are going into your blog. Put on your calendar a set time, whether it's an hour a week. Russ's and my meeting is an hour a week. Say that Tuesday at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., you're going to work on the ideation for your blog. And mostly, this is really important, that one of the reasons that we have this ideation meeting is because Russ and I kind of figured out that these ideas work the same way as anything else in this industry with a funnel. So we had to figure out if we come up with X amount of ideas, how many of those ideas actually make it to publishing on the blog. And it was super surprising that we figured out 50%. That's how much we're even converting from idea to published post. So what our goal is with our ideation meeting is to have 100 ideas in the hopper at all times. And you know what? We're not even there yet right now. We don't have that for us, but we're working towards it and we're setting goals. So for the Digital Marketer blog, what we're working to do is get a month ahead so that there are 8 posts ready to just hit publish on a month at a time, always ahead. So think about that. When you come up with ideas, especially if you're working with outside writers, how many of those ideas are coming to fruition? How many are you publishing? How many people go missing? Because if you're working with outside contributors that don't owe you anything, they have their own businesses, they have their own authority sites, they don't have to give you anything they don't want to. What I really describe my job as a lot of the time is gracefully begging and subtly threatening, because it's my job to get things from people that they have no reason to give me. So you want to come up with enough ideas that you're creating a padding for yourself with what actually ends up happening, what ends up publishing. So think about that for yourself. Think of how many ideas you've come up with, even on your own. If you're the sole provider for your blog, think about how many ideas you've stayed up late night scribbling or writing in your phone in your notes section. How many of those ideas have you actually published? And then go from there. The next step would be acquisition. When are you doing this? This is ongoing. You need to always be thinking about how you're going to acquire things for your blog. Whether you're writing it or whether anyone else is writing it, you need to be always looking for an opportunity there and putting it on a calendar or reaching out to someone. Who's responsible for this? I am. So I have relationships with all the contributors that go on the DM blog that create content for Digital Marketer in terms of DM Lab, whether it's office hours or what's working now, or if it's our certifications. I'm keeping up with them. I'm finding out what's going on in their lives. For example, we're working Tom Breeze. He is our resident expert on YouTube ads. He came up with a fantastic post idea in early June. And of course I wanted it immediately, but he let me know I'm traveling until the end of June. I won't be back home until the beginning of July. And then I really need to spend some time with my family. So I literally cannot work on this post for you until mid-July. And I had to write that down and ahead of time for July to remember to go back to him and follow up. So you're always going to be thinking about how you're acquiring content. How are you going to do this? You're going to connect with possible contributors, email, social, skywriting. This is really where you need that call, the office hours call that I referenced earlier. How Digital Marketer sources and collaborates with blog content contributors. When you're just getting started, you want to use your resources, and especially your free resources. Whether it's Twitter, I know in that call, I gave a really good link that someone wrote about on how to use Twitter lists to find experts in your market. And then we put it to work and looked it up using an example like yoga. And so we found experts in the yoga industry that you can contact, and especially BuzzSumo. Go ahead on BuzzSumo using the free version where they give you 10 responses. You can type in expert yoga blog, or what to wear to yoga, and you're going to find a bunch of responses. And best thing is BuzzSumo is giving you the most popular posts for that topic. And what you're looking for there is a multi-author blog. So you're looking for yogaexperts.com, and then you go on their blog and you look at who's writing for them. And if you see multiple authors and you dig into some of their authors, you'll notice that they don't all work for yoga experts. They're practicing yogis, and you can contact them and offer them exposure on your site, and they can start writing for you. And that's how you can start getting these relationships built. So here, I know a lot of people have said, what reason would they have to write for me? I have nothing to offer them. Maybe you're not paying for them. Maybe you are paying. Our stance at Digital Marketer is that we don't pay for content anymore because we pay for the traffic to drive people to read that. That benefits everybody. You get to pixel the people that are coming to your blog, and the contributor gets exposure. And that's great reason for them to want to do anything for you. Leverage what you have. And what you have, especially if you're a Digital Marketer Lab member, are the tools and resources to run traffic and to run traffic well. So you want to leverage that information and say, no, I don't pay for content, but I will buy content to your post. And we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to the editorial guidelines section of this. But here is a sample blogger outreach script if you guys want to use it. This was something that Russ and I used in the very beginning when I joined him, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I would go look for people on authority blogs, dig up their email address, and then I would send them this. And I love, and it was something Russ taught me that at the very beginning, you always flatter them as well. So you can have this, but when they don't know you, one of the things that I usually opened up with was, hi, I'm the managing editor.com. And I saw the post that you wrote on blank, blank, blank.com. Include a link to that post if you want, and then say, what I really loved about it is blah, blah, blah. And then you say, it'd be great to feature you as a guest contributor on my site. And then you go into this. So flatter them and then ask them if they're interested. You don't have to give them your number and go on a call. It's something we do when we're first working with a new contributor. So it just establishes a better relationship. But for an action step. So here's what I think you should do. If you're listening to this recording and you're in the future, you should totally pause and take action right now. Send an email to every person on your talent list that is lying fallow. And I'm going to stop right here. And Matt, I'm going to ask you to tell me, and you guys in the audience, how many people know what lying fallow means? This is going to really, really excite Russ when he listens to the recording.
I know it, like, I don't know exactly what you mean. I mean, like, it's a farming term, isn't it? Like,
well, what do other people think?
I've got people are saying no clue. If people pretend to follow you,
If people,
sowing the seed for future benefit from JJ.
okay.
It's when you leave the field unplowed is another one. So
Did you Google that, Matt?
no, I didn't Google that. I'm reading people's responses as it's going.
Okay.
But I did say a field, like plowing a field.
So Russ taught me this term, and I think his grandfather taught it to him. Lying fallow, it means like, what assets do you have that are not currently in use? So what seeds have you not planted? I know someone said that. It's definitely right. I see a lot of people here. Graham got it. Inactive, but potentially useful. Who do you have as an asset that is not currently creating content for you? I know for Digital Marketer, we have 2 content writers that we recently added to our arsenal that will do ghostwriting for us and things like that. And so when I'm talking to Russ in our ideation meeting about what I have one of them working on, he's working with another one, and he'll say, do you have anything that you need worked on? Because I have her lying fallow. Means she's not currently working on anything, but she's available. And Russ really, really just loves that term. So what I want you to do is think about that right now. Who have you connected with that can create content for you? Who has created content for you in the past? And if you're thinking about yourself and you know the digital marketer blog post ideas, and especially if you've been through the content engine and you've seen the blog post templates, ones that are pretty easy, what opportunity do you have right now in your list of notes of post ideas that you can put to work right now? What opportunity do you have to put together something quick and click-worthy? The other thing that I think you should do is go on BuzzSumo, Google, or Twitter and scope out 10 new prospects to contact and send them an email. If you've never done it before, feel free to use the script that I gave you a few slides back, but really go and look for some experts in your field and send them an email and try to get them on your blog and in the works for something. And we'll talk about in just a second what you need to be sending them. But for right now, you can send them an email that just says, hey, are you interested? And that'll already get the ball rolling. So stage 2 involves development and approval, because you always want approval, especially from Han Solo. So step 3 is development. When does development happen? Development meeting. This is usually for first-time contributors only. It goes on between the managing editor and the contributor. So this will sometimes be something that I do with people that have never worked for us, but they reached out and they sound really interested, or they wrote back to my email and said, yeah, I think I could do something for you. Can you tell me more about Digital Marketer's blog and what you're looking for? It's so much quicker to just get on a call, introduce yourself, and kind of establish a little bit of a relationship there than emailing back and forth and trying to convey all that information in just one email. So we'll do this. It's usually about a 15-minute meeting, phone meeting that I'll do. And then once you're done, which you can also on that meeting talk about some ideas that you have for them, tell them, set the expectation. I'm going to send you the editorial guidelines. Once you've taken a look at that, why don't you take a gander at the blog, and then send me your blog post idea in this format. This questionnaire format is going to save you so much time. And we'll talk about it in just a second. The other thing that I really want to point out here is sending 3 ideal post examples. So I have a couple post examples for every type of post that I'm looking for to have someone write. So whether it's a case study by a contributor, which is how I have them start a lot of the times. I'm not just taking anyone off the street and saying, sure, write a tactical post telling our people how to run AdWords traffic. No, if I have no evidence that you're going to convey good information to our people, I'm going to say, write them a case study. Show me how you did it and explain it in the post. But I want tons of proof. So have ideal post examples. If you're just getting started, you can find examples on other people's blogs of what you want your content to look like and give them that. But here are the 3 magic questions that you're going to want to create for your business. These will not work for everyone's blog. You're going to have to tailor them to your own market and to what you want. But these will cut down on turnaround time between you and your contributors so much. We went from throwing blog posts out that we absolutely just couldn't publish, but it created a lot of bad feelings between the contributor towards us because they had spent time writing these blog posts. So no one wants that. You do not want that. You don't want to tell someone, yeah, I think you'd be great. Sure, that idea sounds wonderful. Go ahead and write it and send it over to me. Because what's going to happen is that they're going to send you something, and if you can't use it and you have to tell them that, they're not going to be happy. And then you just don't want to send someone back to the drawing board. So having these questions that establish what you want, what's the hook? Why is someone going to read this? What's the promise? What are they going to get out of it when they're done reading? And the outline. This outline is so helpful. And you'll see as we continue down this pipeline, this process, why this is helpful. And it's not just helpful for me, it's definitely helpful for Matt too. So the outline is the opportunity for them to tell us how the post is going to lay out, and for me to take a look at it and say, can you clarify on what this section 2 is going to cover? I don't really understand it from the outline. I don't think that's going to be a good fit. What can we do instead? This just allows you to really approve or disapprove a post before it's even, a thing and a draft. So the other thing that's so important for you to have, especially if you're working with contributors, are editorial guidelines. Any news source has them. Any media brand has them. This is really where you set the tone for what kind of content you're going to accept. You tell them which topics your blog writes about, what the style of your content is, what your image rules are. So for DM, I'm telling people that as far as images go, I'm telling them that I want them in high resolution. I'm telling them what size I want them. I'm telling them that I want them cropped to show the focus of what people should be looking at. I'm telling them that I want them to use Snagit and draw some arrows that show people what I should be looking at. But then in other terms, I'm saying, hey, these need to be proof shots. I want you to show me images from your analytics and things like that. I don't want stock imagery. So here's where you set the rules for your blog. As far as other rules go, our guidelines are pretty strict about digital marketers and no pitching blog. If you include links to your lead magnet or something in our post, I'm going to remove them. I'm going to keep all the good content, but we have discretion to remove whatever we want, and we don't need to run it by you first. Deadlines. This is where you can get really serious about, hey, if you chose your deadline and you told me you're going to have it to me in 2 weeks, my team planned for this. You have to honor it, or we have the right to bump you and not give you the publish date that you chose or something like that. And then you want to talk about benefits and payment. This is the great place to get the payment conversation out of the way because it's right there in your guidelines. You can say, I'm sorry. You don't even have to say, I'm sorry. You say, we don't pay for content right now, but we do pay for traffic. Or I'll pay you $50 to write a 500-word post for me. Something that Digital Marketer feels pretty strongly about is that when you're paying for content, you take the relationship and you're changing it to a transactional one. So immediately becomes a conversation about value. If you're saying that you pay $200 for a post, then that contributor starts saying, okay, well, it's going to take me 10 hours to write that post. So how much money am I actually making an hour? Okay, so that's how much they value my hourly time. And you're going to get a very transactional piece. That's just what we think, that, and it's our experience, that you're getting something that's more about the money than the quality. So our stance on it is just that, no, we don't pay for content, but we will pay for traffic. And then the benefits. You want to talk about the exposure. What's your list size like? We say that we'll mail it to our 750,000 person list. We'll broadcast it to our social following, which is over 500,000. We'll buy traffic to it. So even if you don't have a social following, even if you don't have an email list, you'll say that we're going to buy you exposure. And then the idea there is that you have an offer inside your blog post that is meant to generate leads. So you can start building your email list and get traffic that's, quote, for free. And then the byline. So I do tell people that they cannot pitch inside their blog posts, but the byline is where they can say anything and everything they want. They can tell the author, they can tell the audience all about themselves. They can put any links they want to their offers. They can tell them a story for all I care. This is the place for them to make their mark. And then the magic questions. You absolutely want to include your magic questions into your guidelines and say, this is how I accept blog post idea submissions. Please put it in this format and then I'll get back to you. So everything is covered there. And any questions they've had, they'll follow up with. But take the time to really develop your guidelines. So that's the action step for this step. Create your editorial guidelines. If you've not done it yet, if you're just getting started with your blog, think about what you want your blog to be. You're probably not the only person in your market, so go ahead and search for other authority blogs in your market. What do you like about their content? What don't you like about that content? What are you sure you can do better? And then write about it. Decide what the foundation is going to be. And then most importantly, even if it's just you and you're the sole creator of content for your blog, follow your own guidelines and then create pieces that you can show other people and say, see, this is how we do this. Develop your 3 magic questions. I promise you guys, this is really, really going to cut down in pipe bombs that come your way, any bad feelings, and having to throw posts away that so much time and effort went into, that you wanted to publish, they wanted to publish, and it just can't happen. So then step 4 is approval. This one's pretty easy. It's ongoing because you have a whole bunch of irons in the fire. You have tons of conversations going on with your contributors. I handle this for us. The managing editor usually does it. You want to approve or reject the post idea. This comes in the outline as well. You want to provide alternative ideas if you've rejected it, and that's also totally optional. If you want to provide a specific idea, that's something that we come up with in our ideation meeting. So when we're looking at our offers and our topics, we say, who do we have that's not working on anything? What can we have them write about? So for us, let's say that we know the marketing team has a promotion coming up for the $10 a day traffic plan. We know that that's around traffic temperature. So we're looking at our talent. We know our offer is for the $10 a day traffic temperature execution plan. We look at our talent. That's Molly. Molly owns that EP. Molly owns Facebook advertising for digital marketer. So the idea there is, what can we get her to write about that makes that EP the next logical step for the reader? Well, traffic temperature. Okay, what can we have Molly talk about in terms of traffic temperature? We can have her write a case study on the last time she used it, or how she's organizing things, or a case study on how $10 a day worked for her using different traffic temperatures. And then we'll take it to her. If she doesn't like that idea, or if the case study isn't really what we were going for, we can provide alternative ideas. The best thing about this system is that you know your content so well and you know what you want, so you can come up with a slew of different ideas around one topic and one offer. But if a contributor contacts you and they're the ones submitting ideas and you don't know them as well as you know your own team or your own blog, you can ask them to provide more ideas. They know their own topic better than you do, probably. And then the other thing there is that you want to record your first draft due date. So you can communicate to your editor. That's optional as well. If you are your editor, then you have a lot less talking you have to do. So with Matt, I like to tell him when we can expect something, because with this pipeline, he's able to plan his days for who he's editing, what stage they're in, and when he can work someone else in. Because if you think about it, you're going to have a lot of people in different stages of the pipeline. And if someone turns in a first draft to you and you don't get a chance to look at it for about 3 weeks from then, you're not going to have a happy contributor. And you really can't guarantee that they won't take that post somewhere else or publish it on their own blog. So having this conversation with your editor, whether you hired someone on Upwork or Fiverr to just do a basic edit, which we're going to talk about in just a second, what they're editing for, communicating this to your team makes it easier for them to make sure that these new drafts get priority. That brings us to stage 3, which is the draft form, which means that your contributor has turned in their first draft. Now they're ready for developmental edit. There's revisions. This is where things get interesting. So the first draft, when the due date. If someone tells you that they will have that blog post to you within 3 weeks, you want to write down in your agenda or on your calendar the date that they said they'd have it to you, and then make another note to yourself about 2 or 3 days before that to send them an email checking in that you're still on track. I can't tell you how many headaches this has saved me. I know it's a little bit time consuming, but if you already build it into your calendar 2 weeks from now, it's a little easier. If you have the time when you're working on that calendar event, go ahead and draft up the email. Just don't send it yet. Or you can just create a template that you fill in the names for, fill in the blog post name, whatever you want to do. So you have the due date. Hit your contributor up about 2 or 3 days beforehand and just say, hey, Russ, I know you're really busy watching Judge Judy all day, every day, but you owe me a blog post in 3 days, and I just want to make sure we're still on track for that. Our team is waiting to edit it and make it top priority. Are we still good to go? More than likely, the fact that you remembered is going to make them remember, because something really important Russ taught me in the very beginning is that when you give someone a deadline to do something for you, especially when it's creating content, they do it the day before. So even if you give them 2 to 3 weeks, they're doing it the day before. So the fact that you remember and email them and just, give them a little poke, they're more likely to say, yeah, absolutely, we're on track. You'll have it, maybe even early. Or if they're not on track, they can let you know then that, hey, I'm sorry, I've been slammed. I have about 3/4 of it done. It's not going to happen. So you can pick a new due date and communicate that to your editor, but the workflow keeps going. And then once they do send it to you, you receive the draft and it goes on to number 6. So step number 6 is the developmental edit. And this is really all Matt's wheelhouse. When it's ongoing, he's always working on different developmental edits. His job here is to edit the entire post. I included here this little tidbit, or first 25% for new contributors. This is something Russ and I do occasionally when we're working with a brand new contributor that's never written for us. Doesn't seem like they know our content that well, but they have a good idea and it's something we'd be interested in. We approve their hook, promise, and outline, but we still ask them to write the first 25% of the post and then send it over so we can make sure it's going in the right direction. The other thing there, everything good, Matt?
Yeah, everything is going good.
Okay, well, I heard you clicking around.
I'm typing. Oh, sorry. I'll mute myself.
You're fine. Just wanted to make sure.
Answering questions, I'm typing.
Okay, you're fine. So when you're editing in the developmental stage, you definitely want to keep track changes turned on to ensure all of these things. I won't bother you with reading them all to you, but you can take a screenshot and you're going to get this PDF. But this is what Digital Marketer considers a developmental edit. And here, this first one, these first 2 actually, are very important. And it's why I said that you want them to create a hook, promise, and outline for you, is because when I approve that and they give me the first draft, not only do I give Matt the draft, I also give him the hook, promise, and outline that they created and I approved. Because otherwise, he may be editing a great post, but it's also a post that I didn't approve them to write, and they just totally went rogue on me. Because if you notice in this step, they give me the post. I don't read it. I just deliver it straight to Matt to get into its developmental edit. Here's where he pokes and prods and figures out all of the issues in this blog post and why it will or will not make a good post for the Digital Marketer blog. So it needs to make sure it delivers on the promise it made in the headline in the introduction. The post includes all elements approved of the outline from step 3. So we've had people that have turned posts in, and we've figured out that they just totally left out a section that was supposed to be included. And sometimes they don't even realize it. And we've gone back, but having that outline to compare it to is immensely helpful. You want to make sure that all the media meets your editorial guidelines, and then it's consistent with the other information presented by your organization. Does it go against anything you've been teaching? Does it go against any of your core beliefs? Does it go against any of your company's values? So you want to make sure about that and identify that with track changes on and send it back to them. You can mark it up however you want, but you can give that back to them. And then what Matt will do is he'll tear that thing up and send it to me for approval. Here is where I do read the post. So I will read the post and I will read all of Matt's edits on it, and I'll add my own sometimes, or I'll go back and talk to Matt about it. So this is really developmental edit approval or disapproval, because sometimes I'll give a post back to Matt and say, I noticed here that this wasn't very strong. Can you look at it with this kind of eye and take another stab out of it? And he'll go back at it and rip it apart, tell them you need these screenshots, you need this proof, this math doesn't add up. That is super important, guys. If you're putting any content out there that has any math included with it, make sure that the numbers are right. Ask us how we know. And so approve or reject track changes, return to editor with notes, or return to contributor with a new due date for them to turn it around to you if you're good with it. And now you move to the contributor revisions, which is one of the happiest times because you're not working on it anymore. But the important thing here is that you have established a new deadline. So the contributor will make recommended changes, or they'll ask you questions. They'll clarify the edits Matt made, or they'll revise content. But what's really important here is to send it back to them and say, once you've had a day or so to look at what we're asking for, can you tell me when I can expect this back from you so we can put it on your calendar? Once you let me know when we're going to have this back from you, we'll get you a published date and get you on the editorial calendar. Once it does come back to us, Matt will take another look at it. He will put it through, make sure they answered all of his questions, added any supporting content, changed images. It'll return to the contributor if additional work is necessary, or we'll move along to stage 4, which is where we will work on the editorial calendar. We'll get it into WordPress. We'll copy edit it. We'll line edit it. We'll put some makeup on it and get it ready for the prom. So step 10 was the editorial calendar, and that is all me. So once I have an approved draft from Matt, he says it's good to go, I can look at the editorial calendar and see where does this fit. Like I said, we're trying to work 4 weeks out, 8 blog posts out. So normally this is the expectation I'm setting with my contributors as well, that if you guys want to get something going, we're working about a month ahead. So you need to start grabbing spots now, and the early bird gets the worm. So once I have a date on the editorial calendar, and this doesn't have to be set in stone. If you tell them I'm publishing you here, but we may have a promotion come up or something may change, I'll let you know. As long as you're establishing that good faith that here's where we intend to publish you. If something changes, I will let you know. That is okay. So I'll add this post to the editorial calendar and communicate it to the contributor. Here's an important thing that I found out when I talked to a few people at TNC. A lot of people don't have an editorial calendar. That gives me anxiety, guys. I don't know what I would do without our editorial calendar. When I first started working with Russ, he gave me the editorial calendar he was using, and it was so wonderfully organized and so brilliant. And he's like, this is yours now. You have to start keeping up with this. You make whatever changes you want, all these types of things. I ruined it. I definitely ruined it. I was not keeping up with it. I was not putting real headlines in. I would kind of sometimes write Molly on blah, blah, blah. And then we'd publish it and I wouldn't go back and change it because in my mind, why would I ever need to do that? But then for any of you guys that have been to TNC the last 2 years or have listened to What's Working Now or the Content Engine where we recorded stuff, we actually did need that editorial calendar in its updated form because we started to go back and republish content that performed well. And when I needed to see when the last time we published something, knowing that Molly wrote about blah, blah, blah on February 27th, it didn't help us very much. And I had to do a whole lot more digging to find out what blah, blah, blah actually meant. So I really, really want to implore that you guys create an editorial calendar. It's so important. So you can put it in a Google sheet or an Excel sheet. Create columns for the date, the headline, the category, the type, the author, and the link. And then fill in any content that you currently have planned or in the works, or go back and add everything in from your blog that's already there. Now I've kind of given up our editorial calendar to Matt here. And, I go in and I add people for new dates, but Matt really, really is in charge for keeping it up to date, adding new things. He's optimized it even better for the way he wants it to work. He doesn't write blah, blah, blah in the slots. So, Matt's already doing things way better than I ever did. And I, just to make a point, and then I'll move on, I did ask Russ why he didn't make me stop writing blah, blah, blah and do it the way he did it. And he sent me a smiley face and said he wanted me to make my own mistakes. So don't be me, guys. Okay? Step 11 goes into import to CMS. That's your content management system. For us, we use WordPress. After approving a draft from Contributor, the editor will import it into CMS. That's also where they'll create the contributor byline. This is your author box. They'll add post to content management system. They'll apply style and process. So you'll have your own, but here is ours. And remember, you're getting this PDF. You can take a screenshot if you want. But when you're taking a look at this, you'll notice that all digital marketer blog posts follow this guideline, and they all look like this. Once that is done, definitely take action. Create your import to CMS workflow, because if you ever do hire anyone, which I know Matt can tell you that importing to the CMS is probably not his favorite thing he does at Digital Marketer. It's time consuming. And if your time can be better used elsewhere and you're a one-person show, lucky for us, we're a 3-person show and we all have each other's backs and we all know each other's jobs. But if you're a one-person show, all you need to do is go on to Upwork or Fiverr and find someone that knows WordPress or knows Shopify or knows your content system. In this day and age, I feel like you could go next door and borrow your neighbor's 16-year-old teenager and they'll figure it out. But if you have a guideline for them, they can upload it to your site and they can put on all the bells and whistles for you because you have a sheet that tells them how to do it. This is an awesome checklist, and it's a great way to make sure that you never forget things. Because if you have 50 things on your list to get done today, and one of them is import blog into your WordPress, and you have to put all the bells and whistles on it too, you're going to forget something. So you might as well have a checklist so that you don't. And then that brings us to step 12, copy edit. Matt is actually Digital Marketer's copy editor. So after importing to WordPress, he will go through to make sure the headline is clear and conveys the intended messages. Abbreviations and acronyms are explained on the first use. He'll define, change, or remove industry jargon. He'll cross-link to appropriate content on our blog. He'll add bolding to important keywords and phrases. And what's most important here is to use judgment to avoid bolding too much text, because it's your blog. You think everything you say is important, but your readers do not. Next after that, and I hope you guys are really seeing, Matt, you can definitely tell me if people aren't following along here, but I think you can see that since we're breaking these things up into individual steps, you can see why a one-man band really could do this. Because even if you're using different hats, if you're following the steps on each post, you know what you're supposed to be doing at that time. So something Russ and I used to do, which was just not efficient, is that we tried to do the copy edit and the line edit at the same time. And what that resulted in is some really not pretty posts that you guys can go dig up from 2013 and 14 that I haven't gotten to fix yet. But if you find 2 spaces after a sentence, you'll know Russ got to it. That's all I'm saying. And that makes sure that there's proper grammar, spelling, styling, and for us, add in offset quotes and splinter images, because you guys will notice that we're doing kind of different magazine media style now, where there's offset quotes along the sides that's meant to grab the attention of skimmers. There's splinter images so that people that come in off of social media recognize the image. We're kind of going with like a movie trailer type of thing. See the trailer, come to the blog post, get the feature film. That brings us to stage 5, which is the most exciting stage of all, and it's the coolest one. Can't you tell by the glasses? That comes to pre-published QA, publishing, and post-publishing QA. And we're almost done, and I'll take any questions you guys have, and I'll stop talking if you want me to do that too, but I'm pretty excited about this section. So pre-published QA. This happens with your managing editor and your editorial director if he's not watching Judge Judy. It happens after your line edit. You'll QA for copy and line edit errors. You'll do on-page SEO by including keywords in the title tag, meta description, URL, body, and headline. That is why in additional resources, I listed the How to SEO a WordPress Website EP. That's going to be really helpful. And that's really what Russ's huge strength is when he's going through these posts. He tells us, here is how you need to be thinking, the way that search is thinking and Google is thinking, and how we can make our posts so much better for ranking and for driving organic traffic. So 15 is the favorite of all steps, and it is publish. So after pre-published QA, we do what we have to do to it, and then I get to press the button, and then I dance. So that means take action, dance. Everybody right now should raise your hands in the air and wave them around like you just don't care. Matt, did you do it? I need to know.
Did I dance? No, I did not dance.
I told you to take action.
Am I going to be written up?
I said take action. I said take action, and you didn't do it. So how should
I just smile from ear to ear. I'm not a huge dancer. I'm a stereotypical white boy. So.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know if that's really true. I have a feeling Graham's a pretty good dancer. Also, Graham says in the questions box that he did it. So, Matt.
Oh, okay. Well, Graham's just better than me all around.
That's awesome. So, step 15 is dance after you've published your post, which is so exciting. And then the last step of this will be post-published QA. This is where Matt dives back into this post, and he looks for all the things that Russ and I have missed. This is kind of helpful because once Matt gets a break from looking at the same post over and over and over again, Russ and I can go in and change things, but that also might mean that we might rewrite some things. We may move images around. We may add new images, and we may not style it exactly right. So Matt gets to go in and look from the front end and re-edit some of the new additions that we've made. And he makes sure that everything is displaying and functioning correctly, that all the links work, images work, that the styling is still there, that the byline is correct, and especially that the publish day is correct. Because sometimes Russ and I have a habit of setting things back to like 2014 and publishing just so we can look at how it actually looks when it published. And then I get really upset and confused when I can't find it on the front of the blog. So Matt has to come in and save the day and fix the date. There's one last take action item. It's a bonus. Create your own content pipeline. Matt actually created one for us. So you have your ideation sheet. You have your calendar. What you really also need to do is create a pipeline. I can show you ours real quick, but you want to create a Google Sheet with columns reserved for step, status, next step, due dates, and notes, and then create a section for each step to keep things in their proper place. And I'll show you guys that real quick. So for us, it's here. So you have your ideation stage, first draft, developmental edit, contributor revisions, editor revisions, import to CMS, pre-published QA, ready to publish. And then you have the status, next step, due dates. And it's kind of just an easy way to keep track of everything. Matt always knows where everything is. If I want to know where things are, then I can absolutely go find them, go find out where it is in terms of Matt. I can also look at his calendar. And it's just a really easy way to know, like I said in the beginning, how much content do we have? How much content do we have until something dries up? How many ideas do we have? How many drafts do we have that are in their first draft? Who's writing them? How many are in revisions? What posts went out to contributor revisions that we haven't heard back from? So it's really a good way for us to keep track of where our content is and how we can keep pushing it out. And I know we have about 4 minutes left. I talked a little bit more than I wanted to, but I would love to take questions from you guys. What do you think, Matt?
Awesome. Well, I've got a couple here that people asked earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd be good to share with the group. So this one is from Jay. Oh, and if anyone else has any other questions, send them my way. But this one's from Jay. He said, we may not be able to attract influencers without writing something back for them. Do you have any guidelines on that?
Can you say it again?
I say so. He was asking, because you were talking about earlier about getting influencers to write for us. So he was saying, his question is, we may not be able to attract.
I see it here, Jason. As a young SaaS social media company, we may not be able to attract influencers without writing something back for them. Any guidelines for this? I think in terms of you not having to write something, the guideline here really is you paying for traffic. You can attract influencers, and you don't necessarily have to attract influencers. You can go hunt them. Like I said, open up BuzzSumo or go on Twitter and go look at authority stuff in your market. So you know your market better than anybody else. If you're a social media company, Molly loves to do this trick of what are your people reading that no one else is? So which blogs can you go find that you read for information in your own industry, and who can you poach from there? Who can you email and say, hey, I would love for you to write for us. Are you interested in jumping on the phone, or do you want to see our guidelines? That kind of thing. You don't have to write something back for them, but you can absolutely tell them that you're willing to buy traffic and get them exposure. What else, Matt?
What else? Okay, so we have another question from Mr. David. He's saying, so DM has a huge audience. People are happy to contribute for you. How does someone starting out get people to contribute with when their blogs are just starting? It's
really the same thing that I just said. For us, even when I started working on Digital Marketer's blog in 2014, you have to think about it this way, that Ryan had a huge following. A lot of people knew who Ryan Deiss was, but as far as Digital Marketer, it had some notoriety, but it did not have the authority that we have today. We didn't have the growth and the traffic that we had today. I remember when we were just so excited for our blogs to be getting organic traffic. So people really didn't have a reason to write for us. And I got told no a lot. I still have some of my whales that I'm trying to catch that have not written for the Digital Marketer blog. And really the way we got them is the people that did agree to write for us is by saying, we will mail your post to our list. We will buy traffic to your post. We will give you exposure, and we'll do whatever we have to do to get you that exposure. And that's influence enough. The other one that Russ really, really, really loves, and I do as well, is the crowdsource post. So maybe people don't need to write you an entire 1,500 word blog post, but a crowdsource post, if you can hit up a few people in your industry and say, hey, I'm working on a crowdsource post. I have these 3 questions that will take you about 5 minutes each to answer. X, Y, and Z, being other influential experts in your industry, are also interested, which Russ says that people used to do this by saying that one person is interested. It makes the other want to be interested. I read something, I think it was the other day. It was funny, and it was just a little joke about how a guy asked his girlfriend's father for her hand in marriage. He says no, because you're not anything. And he said, well, I work for Bill Gates. And he said, oh, if you work for Bill Gates, then that's sure. And so then the guy went to Bill Gates and was like, I want to work for you. But Bill said no. And then he turned around and said, So, oh, really? Because someone else wants to hire me. And Bill Gates said, okay, well, you can work for me. And then he went to the other guy and made another proposition. It's using other people's interests to get them on board. I actually just got an email about it saying that asking if I wanted to be a part of a crowdsourced post regarding Push Crew. And they said, so-and-so is already involved. It'd be great to have you too. Those other people are influencers as well, and I would like to be on the same kind of blog post as they are. So it's going to get you to agree. So if you can list them and say, we have so-and-so on here as well, you have motivation to go get other people interested because they want to be associated with each other. So you can do that. The other thing you can do if you don't have the backing for them to really write a post for you is ask to interview them. Russ loves saying that people always get writer's block, but they never get talker's block. If you can get someone to sit on the phone with you and do an interview, which 95% of the time they'll agree to because people love exposure and people also just inherently love attention, they will sit on the phone with you and give you an interview, and you can turn that into a great piece of content. So I think that is where you start. If you don't have the makings to get people to agree, you do a crowdsource post and reach out to a bunch of influencer and use them all against each other to get involved, or you interview someone influential and you turn it into a great piece of content. And then you send it to another influencer and say, so-and-so, let me interview them. I'd love to interview you too. I think it would be a great fit for my blog. I hope that helps. What else, Matt?
We have one person's asking a little bit how we promote on social media, and they're asking how much, like how often we're promoting, how long the promotions run for, how much we'll spend to boost, things of that nature. Do you want to go into a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So every new post on the Digital Marketer blog gets posted on social, and it gets boosted for $500 for 3 days. You don't have to do that. That's not necessary. You can boost things. I know that if you listen to anything from Dennis Yu, he has a ton of content on using the boost button and how you don't have to put a ton of money behind it if you don't want to. So boost it to your audience for 3 days or so. We put 500 behind it. Sometimes what we've started doing, since we're trying to target a few keywords recently that we specifically want, we'll put $1,000 behind it and we'll let it go for 5 days maybe. But you don't have to put that steep of a budget behind it. Just get it out in front of people. The idea here is that you're going in front of people. If your post is as good as it should be, it'll start to organically spread. Other people will share it. It'll get in front of people organically, and your traffic will grow from it, and you'll keep people coming back. And I saw a question by David where he said, do people ever ask you to provide proof of what amount you spend? No, they don't. I have never, ever once in my years of working in digital marketer been asked for proof of the money we spent to run traffic to their post. I would say, stay honorable. If you say you're going to buy traffic to a post, definitely buy traffic to that post. But no, they have never asked us for proof. Kind of usually the fact that we have a social sharing button on the front of every post kind of is the proof itself that people are going there. But that's what I think about that. I saw here that Rebecca said, how long do you think you should wait before promoting old posts again that are still relevant? That's a great question. There's a blog post that I wrote on digitalmarketer.com. You can search it now. We have a fancy search bar for social media traffic. And it talks about how when you share a post, you go ahead and you put it in your rotation to be automatically redistributed. We use either Hootsuite or Meet Edgar, and you can just put it in your rotation, especially if it's an evergreen post, and keep it going. And you keep adding content in there. The other idea behind that is that you don't need to only put your content in your automatic sharing or your evergreen distribution. You can vary it up with different people, goodwill pieces, so that you're not just constantly sharing your own stuff to your audience. But in terms of how long should you wait before promoting old posts again? We promote our old posts pretty frequently, especially if they're evergreen. If we have a promotion coming up that's on topic with that old post, we'll absolutely share it again. So figure out how much your audience likes that post, how relevant it is to your promotions. If it's an old post about podcasting and you're coming out with a new post about podcasting, go update that old post with a link to your brand new post, update what should already be in your new post, a link to your old post, and then put them both out on social. It's just about topic. It doesn't matter how many people have already seen it or how old it is. The idea here is always assume that there are new eyeballs on your content that weren't there before. And every time you reshare your old content, it's another bite at the apple to get them to become a valued member of your community. What else do we have?
Those are about it, because you asked the Rebecca question. I love that one. So
I'm seeing a question here from Josh that I'm a little concerned about, saying, is someone at DM getting arrested? I'm not at the office, so I don't know.
There's some sirens in the background. I think it's from you.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No one's getting arrested at the company.
Sorry, guys. I live in downtown Austin, and I can literally see the police station from across the highway from my balcony. So sometimes there are police sirens and stuff. I feel very, very safe. Another question from Matthew, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But if you guys have any other questions, feel free to post them here now. You can also post them in the event inside DM Engage, and I'll be happy to jump in there and answer. Is it a good plan to write some pieces with the goal of awareness, then others with the goal of conversion, and sort of alternate between those goals, or should everything have conversion in mind first? I am so glad you asked that, Matt. You should absolutely write posts with different goals in mind. We definitely do. Be thinking about your offers, not necessarily just solely the action of what people are going to take. For Digital Marketer, we came out with so many certifications on different topics that we frankly just did not have lead magnets for. Because at the end of the day, there are some lead magnets that we can speak on very firmly and some that we know our audience aren't going to convert. If I put a lead magnet offer in front of you guys that's about Facebook traffic, y'all are going to take it a lot more than you guys are going to take something on conversion optimization. Sorry, Justin. But conversion optimization is hard. It makes people's head hurt. And Facebook traffic makes you money. So everybody's going to automatically want to make money. And we know this. We know our audience. So while we do have great content around conversion optimization and we do have an entire certification around it, we don't have lead magnets about this. Justin and I have been talking about changing that up and getting one in there. You guys seem to really, really like the 15-point landing page audit, and I think other people will too. So that doesn't just mean that I should never highlight the conversion certification. It's an amazing certification. If you guys haven't taken it, shameless plug here, but a lot of people that have taken it have hit Justin up to say that it's been the most profitable one they've ever taken. The ROI on it is amazing. It changed their site. It changed their conversions. He's a brilliant, brilliant person. So I have to promote that, and especially for Digital Marketer's Blog, where we have so much traffic, both organic and paid. It would be unfair of me to not create a post from Justin, who is one of our faculty members and has amazing things to share. I can't just put a post out from Justin that doesn't have a CTA on it, but I do need to publish Justin. So the CTA on it is going to be his certification, and we're going to be okay with the awareness. If you don't have a front-end offer to make for a high-end ticket offer, go for awareness, make people aware of it, and then retarget them. So I'm really glad you asked that question. You guys don't always have to be publishing content with the idea in mind of conversions. Go for awareness, go for engagement, and then retarget, absolutely. What else do we have? I see people saying, like, do you really want a contributor who watches Judge Judy? I mean, no, but he happens to be our editorial director, so what can we do, right? Russ really likes Judge Judy. What else do we have? Anything, Matt, that I haven't seen yet?
Let's see. We have one question, and it's not completely on topic, but what about revisions after data has been gathered? What like bounce rate and heat maps, etc.? Do you repeat the process, or do you start from a certain another point, or is it entirely a new SOP?
So let me me see. Okay, I found it from JJ. What about revisions after data? So I think no, you don't entirely repeat the process. That would kind of fall on me and Matt. We would end up going into the blog post. If Justin came to us and said that, I think it really just depends on what it is. If Justin came to us and said, hey, the heat map showed that for one of your blog posts, people are stopping a few sentences above them getting to the CTA, you guys should go move your CTA up, we would absolutely do that. If he said that people were stopping at a certain point, Matt and I and Russ would go look at that blog post and see what about that point was turning people off and making them bounce. We would absolutely go change those things. And I know it's also not absurd to think that you would contact your editor. I don't suggest unpublishing, but what Matt and I have done before is email one of our contributors and say, hey, we noticed this about your post. Sorry, we missed it when we were sending you the developmental edit. Do you think you can revise this? And most of the time, I've never had someone say no. But if you would like to put some pressure on them to get it to you sooner, you would just say, I really don't want to take this down, but it needs to be updated. Can you get me an update for this in a couple days so that I don't have to unpublish your post and wait on it? I promise you, they'll get you that update. In terms of revisions after data has been gathered, if you're talking about something besides bounce rate and heat map, data your numbers will go out of date, but that leads us to something that we call the Redwood blog strategy. If you guys haven't gone through the content engine, you absolutely should. I did an entire section in there on the Redwood blog strategy, and Russ and I talked about it at TNC. That's where you start getting into looking at which of your blog posts are really popular. Where's traffic going to, both paid and organic and referral, and then make it a perennial. How often can you update that post? Can you update that post quarterly with new numbers, or can you do it yearly? So for us, we have our 101 best email subject lines post. Right now, if you go to that post, it shows digital marketers 101 best email subject lines of 2016. That's all obviously outdated. We have a whole ton of new best performing email subject lines, but we're not going to update that until December. So looking at your posts, think about in terms of how much traffic is going to this. If the numbers are really outdated, but you're getting a ton of traffic, make it a priority to edit and republish that post. It doesn't have to be edited and republished and not thought about. Put it on your editorial calendar to republish it with updated information, and then mail it to your list, put it on social, put it absolutely in the headline that says second edition or updated or new updates. Call out what you changed in it, even if you just updated the numbers. There is a post, actually, I can't spell. And thanks you guys for sticking around. There's a lot of you here, and I'm 15 minutes over, but I really appreciate it. So this post we updated because the last time it had been published was 2015, and the numbers were just so off. And this lead magnet had been running for so long. And we were update the numbers and what it eventually led to, and updated the headline. And by doing that, Google rewarded us by moving us up into the top spot. So absolutely be considering your numbers, and if updating it, blog post ideas. Yeah, for this one as well. So we took this and we added a second edition, and we showed everybody, hey, we added a ton of information to this. We updated information. We changed things that we were calling something else. Definitely go listen to that section in the Redwood blog section. There's also another post that I can put in here for you guys. Here you go. I sent that over. So yeah, this is a great post, especially in regards to updating information that you were asking about, JJ. Go and update the numbers in a post and republish. Here's how we do it. And then see how that works for you. I hope that's what you are looking for. What else do we have?
We have a question about KPIs for poor performing blog posts for DM. Like, what KPIs are we looking at?
I mean, if you guys have gone through the content certification, but also I think it's in Russ's How to Write Blog Posts That Sell. I think he talks about it. As far as KPIs, when we put it on social, we look at it after those 3 days are over. You know, if we're paying to put it in front of people, we expect the numbers of how many engaged with it to be pretty high, and we expect the traffic to it to be pretty high. So if it didn't get a lot of traffic in the first days of its birthing, once we emailed it to the list and we put it on social, sorry guys, I don't know a better word for that besides birth a post into the world. Normally only Matt and Russ have to talk to me. So once you post that out into the world, look at how much traffic is coming into it. Matt actually keeps track of our search engine rankings, and he looks at things pretty weekly to see how they're jumping. We noticed that we'll look at something actually last week. We're ranking 23 for email marketing metrics, and a week later we are number 11 for email marketing metrics. And Matt, I'm sure will pull that data again tomorrow when we ran traffic on Facebook and see how far we got from it. But take a look at the organic traffic for something. Take a look at how many people are bouncing off of the page for sure. And then how many people are clicking your CTA in it as well. But those are the KPIs that we're kind of looking for, is how are people acting? Do people even want to read it? Because if you think about what we're putting on social, we're using the best hooks of the blog post. We're literally giving the promise and the hook of why they would want to read it, why we even published it. And if they're still not clicking, then you have to look and see if you have yourself a dud on your hands. And duds happen. It's okay. Sometimes you also need to give your audience posts that they need, not that they want. So if you're publishing a piece of content and the intentions for that piece of content are rankings and SEO kind of thing, like maybe it's a how-to for your product or why you would use your product, or it's a product comparison. Yeah, people aren't going to necessarily want that. But if you're optimizing for the correct keywords and your goal is for organic traffic, then you don't just have a dud on your hand. You're producing content with a specific reason in mind. So don't look at just traffic as whether or not you have a dud, and be thinking about your goals long term to determine whether something's performing well. Let's see. Awesome. Pablo said, what do you think of the posts that are alive when you are updating all the time under old content? I heard that this helps with SEO. I think what you mean is when you're updating posts that are live, like on the blog, without taking them down or anything. We don't update things all the time, especially in old content. Like we don't, you won't catch us just going to a post that we published last week and changing information and republishing and remailing. I don't really think that that's, I mean, it's just when you publish something like that again and you mail it to your list, a lot of your list did just see it. When you're putting it on social, that's different, especially if you're running it organically, because you are supposed to be assuming that you have new eyeballs on there that haven't seen it before. But if you're doing something like republishing it to resending it to your list, I don't think you should just go all willy-nilly with the updates. Your updates should also be intentional and planned. Spend time keeping your content tended to. Google really, really rewards that. But you're not going to see much of a change in terms of search rankings and organic jumping if you're just going in there and adding a link or changing the spelling of something. Just publish when you have to. I remember when Russ and I started talking about Redwood Blog Strategy, someone in the audience asked, like, how much do I have to change in order to republish? And that's the worst question to ask. The right question to ask is, what can I change to make my audience have a better experience? Can I add a video? None of the information has changed, but can I add a video? Yeah, if it's going to make your audience have a better experience, absolutely. Can I keep all the same information and add an infographic that shows this, but will help it share all over different social networks? Absolutely. So don't be thinking about, do I need to change the spelling of this? Do I need to change this number because I got a different result yesterday, so now it's technically outdated? If that's not going to completely make your audience light up with joy then don't do it. Plan ahead. Plan to get it out again in a quarter and update it, and then take a serious look at what's changed and how you can make it better. Not just updating and republishing over and over and over, because that's not going to be good for anybody.
I think that's all of them.
I think we got it. We did it. Yeah. All right, guys. I am so thankful that you guys stuck around. Thank you so much for everybody that did that. We will see you guys next week. And like I said, this call will be in the What's Working Now section of Lab, usually within 24 hours. Matt is also responsible for that. So if he's not, feel free to shame him and DM Engage. I saw him in the chat box giving you guys the bit.ly link to the PDF of this presentation, but you will also have it inside Lab along with all of those links to those resources. I think that is all we have to say about that, but we will see you next week on Office Hours. Bye, y'all. Bye.
Thanks, guys.